Hello, dear friends. Thank you very much for staying tuned in. Uh, yes, so for this particular video, we shall look at the average ifs function, which is slightly different from the average if. But first and foremost, I want to thank you very much for those that have been able to watch all our videos that we've done. Thank you very much. Please, for those that haven't yet subscribed, you've not yet liked, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. It will help us a lot. So quickly, falling into average ifs. So the difference between average if and average ifs uh, is for average if you average based on one condition, but average ifs you average based on multiple conditions. Yes, so let us go in and answer these two questions so we can better understand how it works. So we have the same data set that we've been using for the previous videos, and yeah, so we shall choose to use the same. So question is, find the average amount deposited through MTN on 17th. So you see, for this case, we can't use average if. Why? Because we are being given two conditions, and like I mentioned, if you're able to watch our previous video around average if only works with just one condition. If you realize you want to average but based on more than one conditions, then you use the average ifs. So this is what we want to answer today. So let me delete this and we kickstart. Like I mentioned, for any function or formula, before typing it or working through it, you need to start with an equal sign. So average ifs, so it will come through and you can just see the write up here, average of values depending on multiple criteria. So I can just click it, so they're showing me how it works. Now, difference between average if and average ifs. For average ifs, remember, like it is being displayed here, you need to start with what you want to average, like the average range, unlike the average if where the average range comes at the end. You need to review the average if video to see how it works. But for this average ifs, you need to start with average range. What range do you want to average before you even think of adding in the conditions? Yeah. And for our case, since the question is requesting us to average the amount deposited, so amount deposited is within column G, so that would be my average range. Average is amount if. So now we get into the conditions. So like I mentioned previously, the criteria range is entirely based on what you have as a condition. Now we are going to start working through our conditions before the average happens actually. So what is the first condition? They have told us the transaction must have gone through MTN. Remember, we have Airtel and MTN. So condition one should be through MTN. So where is MTN? MTN is under network, which is column E. So I'll get that as my criteria range. And what is now my criteria, which is like the condition they have mentioned, it needs to be MTN. So for this, I'll definitely put it into double quotes simply because it is text. Now that is done for condition one. We put the range in which that condition falls, and then we put the condition which is MTN. But now we have another condition that transaction must be falling on 17th. So what I will do for 17th is a day. You understand the date? So I'll get the criteria range will be that, because it holds the condition which is 17th that we need to add before we actually do our average range. So I will put a comma and then the criterion, which is now the actual condition, which is 17. I'm not putting it in double quotes simply because it is a number, it is not a text. I'll do that. So this is actually doing one thing. It is helping us look through this entire column of amount and looking for only transactions that have a network of MTN and that the date of the transaction was 17. You understand? Because like I mentioned, these transactions happened on different days, so many days. So somewhere you will see transactions that happened on 17. So it is asking average for me, this entire column of average, as long as the transaction happened on 17th and it was through MTN as the network. Interesting. So this will be our little answer in here for this first question. Next, we shall go to the second question, which is asking us to average the amount deposited through Airtel. Remember, our previous question was talking about MTN. Now they have switched a bit. The network should be Airtel, and the date should be 15th, not the 17th, like the previous question. So I'll remove that. Equal sign, like I told you, for any function or formula, equal sign, average ifs. Why ifs? Because we are averaging based on more than one conditions or multiple conditions. Like you've seen, we need to start with the average range. What do we want to average? Self-explanatory. Average range, we will want to average the amount because they're asking us for the average amount. Put that aside. Now they're asking us for the range, criteria range. Now this, how do you go about that? You now start looking at the conditions and you start adding them to your formula one at a time. Our first condition, as you can see here, they have mentioned it should be through Airtel. So our first criteria range based on Airtel, it needs to be the network because our condition, which is Airtel, is falling under the network. So I'm going to highlight that as our criteria range. And now what is the condition? The condition is Airtel. I'll put it in double quotes because it is text. Now that condition is catered for. Now the other condition is the date should be 15th. Now 15th is a date which falls under column C, which is the day. So I'll use that as my range. So I'll use that as my range, and then I add in the condition which has been given to me, 15th. And I'm not adding it to double quotes simply because it is not text. I'll put enter. So this clearly shows that for all transactions that happened through Airtel, and on 15th this was the average amount. So this was the average amount of money transacted or deposited by customers who deposited through Airtel and on 15th. That's all I have or I had for this particular video. Once again, thank you very much for those that have taken time to subscribe to the channel. Please share, like, leave a comment. It means a lot. Thank you very much. I sign out.